Hi, welcome everyone. This session, we are just starting in a minute. All right. So yeah, hi everyone, welcome to the session. Today we are going to cover the topic called From Data to Decisions, Navigating the Journey of Data Science and AI. My name is Aishit Dharwal, and uh, I'm a currently working as a data scientist at IDFC First Bank. I also host a community called Figuring Out Aishit. Uh, from educational background, I'm a civil engineer and I did it from IIT Bombay. And during those 4 years, I found my passion in data science. Uh, I also ended up writing a patent about AI master data management and during an internship in 2020. And I currently live in Jaipur, and also feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Uh, I also want to know a bit about you guys, everyone who is attending live, or if you are watching the recording, then please feel free to comment on the video. Uh, I want to know about your current experience. Are you students? Are you freshers? Or are you already working in some domain? It might not be the data science domain. So feel free to put it in the chat. Also, what is your target company? Do you want to get into a product-based company? Do you want to get into a tier one product-based company or a service-based company? Right. So feel free to put that in the chat as well. Uh, and what is your preparation status? Are you already doing some data science courses? Have you already done it? Or are you doing some internships? Or are you doing some personal projects? Or are you already in a data science or a data analyst role? Uh, so these three things uh, are some key points that you have to know about yourself. And according to this, there will be a particular roadmap for you to transition or get into the data science domain. Now, what exactly is data science? Uh, it is just deriving useful insights from raw data, and that's it, right? Data science doesn't always have to do with machine learning or with AI or with deep learning. Uh, it can just be as simple as analyzing your data in Excel, right? So that is all what data science is really. And uh, I'm looking at the chat. Pooja is a fresher, Atharva is a fresher, and uh, Pooja is working on a project as well. Okay. Feel free to keep describing yourself in the chat. Let's move ahead. So, what exactly is data science? It is just deriving in useful insights. So, this we already covered. Now, what do I mean by raw data? Right. So, feel free to put your thoughts in the chat. What do you think is raw data? I'm just looking at the chat as well. All right. So, coming back, what do you mean by raw data? So, it can be a data set of any type. It can be a tabular data set, just like this that you are seeing on the screen. Uh, so here you are seeing some columns, some rows. There are some number of colonies. There are some columns named dishes. Uh, there's a column named concentration. There's a column named treatment. So there can be any kind of a data set which can be structured into tables. Think of data sets like maybe your stock market trading data. It can be your customer data where you can have different columns about customers, different customer demographics, what's the age of the customer, gender of the customer, address of the customer, right? And so on, income of the customer. This is one sort of a data set. Second, this is a stock market trading data set where you have a column for symbol that is which stock you're trading, and you have some other columns which describe the details about the trade. So you have the entry date, exit date, quantity, buy value, sell value, and so on. This is another kind of data set which is image-based data set. So this is a handwritten digits, and uh, this can't really be structured in a table as such. So that is why this is very different from the data set that we just saw. That is this tabular data set. And images usually are stored as matrices. And since handwritten digits can be a single digit can be written in any such way, right? So a zero can be a straight zero, just like the first one, or it can be a sort of an irregular zero, like the second one, and so on. So just like this, even though the full row is zeros, uh, they are not exactly the same. So this is how unstructured data looks like, and this is our image data. This is some other image data set uh, where you have a lot of images of different things happening. There are some animal images, dogs, maybe cats, maybe fish, and there's some rear view mirror. There are vehicles, aeroplane, boats, and sort of other things, right? So this is also image data set where uh, which cannot be structured into a table as such. This is another tabular data set, but there's something special about it. There are some labels attached to it. So this is a sentiment data set. So for example, if you look at the first row, loves the German bakeries in Sydney. Together with my imported honey, it feels like home. And the label is positive. The second one is Viva la Lorraine. Mine is broken too. I miss my sidekick. This is a negative connotation. And if you look at each of these rows, you'll figure out that the positive or negative is a sentiment that is associated with the sentence. And this is also a structured data set, but it also has a label attached to it. Now, the question comes is how does a computer deal with raw data, right? So feel free to put that in the chat. How do you think a computer reads raw data? So computers can only read binary numbers, and think of these as if you think of the number 2 in a decimal format, then the binary format of that is 1 0. And if you think of the character A, uh, you can convert that into, so A is usually represented in ASCII as, I think, as 97. And if you convert that into binary, it becomes this 0 1 1 0 0 0 0 1, right? So uh, so hence we need some learning mechanism for machines. uh, so if you see the meme on the left side, algorithms plus maths becomes machine learning, and that is exactly what it is. uh, Moving ahead, these are some broad divisions of data science. You have computer science, statistical mathematics, and business. And when you combine some of these or all of these, you get these domains. That is computer science plus machine learning. Computer science plus statistical mathematics becomes machine learning. Business plus statistics becomes business analytics. Computer science plus business becomes software development. And if you combine computer science, statistics, and business, it becomes data science. Now, what is ML? ML is a field of study that gives computers the capability to learn without being explicitly programmed. Uh, and why ML? Because humans suck at analyzing large amounts of data. So, uh, for a computer to learn something from the data, it needs some algorithm, and that's where ML comes in. And think of something as simple as, let's say you have a function that is y equals f of x. Uh, if you already have the data set, that means you already have x and y. And you need machine learning to know what is the function here, that is the f. So in traditional maths, what we end up doing usually is we know x and we know f, and we want to find out y. So we do y equals to f of x. But in machine learning, we have x and y, and we want to find out what the underlying function is, that is f, right? So that is where the traditional algorithms of machine learning come in. And usually, when a human looks at a data set, if a human looks at just a lot of numbers altogether, it's very difficult to know what the pattern is or what the function actually is, right? So that is why one way for a human to easily recognize what the underlying function is basically plotting in a two-dimensional space or a three-dimensional space. You can plot the data set, and maybe you'll see that it's a linear data set or it's a parabolic data set or so on. But if the data set is in a very like high dimensions, so then a human cannot really visualize how the data set is looking like. So that is where we need machine learning to really understand what are the patterns the data set is already following, right? So moving ahead, now uh, you see deep learning plus machine learning and AI, right? So AI is a superset here. A subset of AI is machine learning. So a subset of machine learning is deep learning. And data science is sort of a combination of all of these, along with maths, statistics, visualization, and EDA. Now, some of my favorite machine learning applications are, let's say, if you already know uh, Google Maps, you know Google Assistant, you know Google search ranking, and Google Maps is able to find out the most optimal route for your source and destination. If you want to go to a destination, then Google Maps will help you find out the most optimal route depending on the traffic, depending on the distance, depending on various multiple factors. So uh, that is one of the ML applications that is like very useful to us. Same with Google Assistant. Google Assistant helps you answer questions. Basically, it's like a Google search, but in the voice format. There's Google search ranking. How do you figure out which website or which web page to keep on the top and which web page you want to keep on the second page? So that is where Google search ranking comes in. Uh, so there's a algorithm which Google follows to figure out which pages to keep on the top and which pages to keep at the bottom. Next is Meta. Meta uses targeted ads. So if you use Facebook, then you surely you have seen a lot of ads which are targeted to you, and most likely it will be very similar to what you have already searched today, or maybe you Googled something, or so it takes in all that data, whatever you are searching, and it figures out what you're interested in, and it tries to find out the most similar ads and shows those ads to you. That is targeted ads. Second thing is face recognition. If you have ever uploaded your photos on Facebook, it would try to automatically figure out who you are within the photo, even if there are multiple people in the photo. So it automatically does face recognition from existing photos and tries to figure out who you are in your new photos. Again, you have newsfeed ranking, just like Google search ranking. The Facebook algorithm figures out which news to show to you, such that you'll probably engage with it, or you'll like it, or you'll be interested to read it. That is the newsfeed ranking. Some other applications are American Express. Uh, it uses machine learning to calculate your credit worthiness, and it figures out whether to give you a credit card, or whether or how much limit should be there on your credit card, or whether you are eligible for a loan or not, depending on how likely you are to pay it back. Second thing is Amazon. Amazon uses sustainable packaging. So it uses some algorithms to figure out what size of the box to use for your product. And so that way it is able to save a lot of cost. It is able to save a lot of material, and that is sustainable as a whole. The third thing is the Netflix recommendation system. If you use Netflix, then you know that it is able to recommend you the movies or the shows which you are very highly likely to like. So it uses your past history, whatever shows you've already watched, and it tries to figure out which are the shows that you will actually like in the future. Right. So that is where the Netflix recommendation system comes in, and it's also an ML system. Some of my other favorite data science applications are one is generating modern art. So there is a machine learning model called GAN, Generative Adversarial Networks. If you train a GAN with a lot of modern art images, you will be able to generate new modern art images, uh, which will be completely different from the ones that you trained with, but they'll actually look like art that humans created. That is one of my favorite applications. Another one is image recognition. Uh, Another one is spam detection. If you use Gmail or if you use any email provider, uh, and you have seen that some mails which are very obviously spam mails, the email provider is automatically able to recognize that it is spam, and it automatically shifts it into a spam folder. So that is also an NML system, and there multiple models can be used, some of which are like decision trees on your networks. Then there is medical imaging diagnosis. Uh, for example, if you have an MRI or if you have an X-ray, you can use a machine learning model called CNN, that is convolutional neural networks, to train it to be able to recognize what kind of a disease does this person have, given his X-ray or his MRI or any sort of an image. So their CNNs are very useful. Now, uh, coming to the actual roadmap uh, that you guys can follow. There are like there can be like multiple roadmaps that you can follow to enter data science domain, or if you're already part of the data science domain, then you can upscale. Right. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to first clear your fundamentals. When I say clear your fundamentals, it means that if you are looking to get into a data science position, then you need to know the fundamentals of machine learning. You need to know the fundamentals of deep learning. And these days, most of the job openings, that is like 80 to 90% of the job openings require you to know generative AI as well. So these are the skills that you need to be fundamentally very strong at if you want to enter a data scientist role. And the second thing will be to prepare a kick-ass resume. Uh, what is a good resume? If you ask, a good resume is one, since you would be a fresher for the data science role, you can only do either internships or you can do some personal projects. If you are able to get internships, then that's really great. And if you're not able to get internships, then all you can do is personal projects. So try to do some personal projects in machine learning which solve a real problem, and you are also able to show the impact. So if you're able to show the impact, then it is as good as a corporate project. So that is what a good resume looks like. And even uh, so, if I can show you a good resume format, so you can go to Overleaf resume templates, and you'll find a lot of Overleaf templates like this. Pick a template which is a single column. There aren't multiple columns in there. So, for example, this one or this one, these are like very decent resume templates to follow. And so here, instead of the work experience, you can actually mention your projects. So this would be a very ideal resume. Make sure to include the important keywords from whatever job description you are applying at. Uh, the keywords you can either include in your projects or in your skill section. The next thing will be to prepare for the interview. And for the interviews, the first thing that to get the interview, you need a good resume. Let's assume that you already have a good resume. Then when you reach the interview, then the only thing that will save you is a good fundamental knowledge about the role and about the requirements of the role. So go through the job descriptions very carefully. You'll find out what is expected of you for in that particular role, and so those fundamentals should be very clear. Most interviews will ask you to code in Python. So Python is really important because most machine learning projects are coded in Python. So you should be really great at Python, and you should be great at machine learning fundamentals. Some roles might even ask you to code machine learning algorithms from scratch during the interview. So that is how you ace the interview, and that is mostly about it. If there are any questions you guys have, please feel free to put in the chat, and I'll be happy to take them. Please feel free to ask your question, guys. All right, I got the first question by Pooja. That is, please share your journey as a data scientist. Okay. So I entered the data science domain in a company called Piramal Finance, and there I was a data scientist. I worked there for 2 years. Then currently I now work at IDFC First Bank. Here, uh, so if I can tell about how I entered data science, it was mostly self study only, and I did a lot of courses. I did a lot of projects. I created a good enough resume, and that's how I entered data science. Currently, most of my work involves around computer vision, and also somewhat in NLP as well. Uh, so yeah, that is my journey as a data science. If there are any other specific questions, you can feel free to put that in the chat, Pooja. Second question is Atharv. Can you explain roadmap for ML? So again, the roadmap is the first thing is the fundamentals, right? You need to have great fundamentals of machine learning, of Python, of data analysis. If the role requires deep learning, then deep learning as well. If the role requires generative AI, then that as well. Then after that, you need to create a good resume. A good resume is a resume where you have a lot of personal projects. So when you do personal projects, then it shows the interviewer that you are also like really interested in this domain and not just for a job, right? So you need to have a lot of personal projects. So have at least 3 or 4 personal projects, which should be end to end. When I say end to end, you have to start with a really good problem statement and you have to completely deploy it on the cloud. So that is an end to end machine learning project. And after you create the good resume, then you are much more likely to get shortlisted for interviews. And for the interview, uh, if you have great fundamental knowledge, then that will work for you in the interview. So I'm just typing the general roadmap for machine learning here, and feel free to ask other questions in the chat. Gautam is asking, what about generative AI? Do we need to know it for the interviews? So these days, almost 80 to 90% of the job roles require you to know generative AI. So yes, if you are entering those roles, then definitely yes, you need to know generative AI. This is the rough roadmap in general. Uh, Specific roadmaps can differ for different people. Where if you are already well versed with some of these things, then you don't need to cover all that. And let's say if you haven't studied maths, maybe in your college or in your class 11th and 12th, then you definitely need to brush up on the maths as well. You need to know calculus, you need to know linear algebra, you need to know probability statistics. So that is how you can be really strong at machine learning as well. Ankit is asking, is it necessary to be very good at mathematics to enter into data science field? So it is definitely not necessary, but it will make your life a lot easier if you work on your maths as well. So again, the topics that I told are the only topics that you need to know a bit is calculus, and that also differential calculus. Next thing is your linear algebra. Next thing is your probability and statistics. If you know these topics somewhat like in a decent level, then it will make your life a lot easier. Keep your questions coming, guys. If there's a question in your mind that you are hesitating to ask, then this is the time, guys. Uh, any other questions? Yeah, Tarv is asking, what kind of project should I work on? Okay, so this is a very nuanced question. It cannot have one correct answer, but in general, you should definitely work on projects that you relate with. So think of a problem statement that you have faced and try to solve that using data science. That will be the best project for you, and you will be able to defend it really well in the interviews as well. So also try to make it, uh, try to integrate it with the latest technologies. For example, if you're looking for a role which requires generative AI, then it will be really great if you use generative AI in your project, right? So, for example, if let's say you have a document, a large document, but you are too lazy to read it, so one project that you can build is you can build a question answering bot using large language models, which will which can answer questions from the document. Okay, so you can ask a question to the LLM pertaining to the document, and the LLM will read your document and answer the question. That can be one good project, and obviously, like you should be able to deploy it. Any other questions? If you have any questions, this is the right time to ask. So I'll be here till 12 p.m. Uh, so feel free to put in any question in the chat and we can answer that. Okay, guys. So I think since there are no more questions, we can end the session. And thanks, guys. In case you have any other questions, feel free to put that in the comments of the video, or you can personally contact me on LinkedIn. And yeah, see you for the next session. Thanks. Bye.